going to book today. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, a novel and cartoons, over 250 books sold. Jeff Kinney. The driver slammed on the brakes, and he turned his truck around. Me and Rolly started running, but those guys were right on our heels. The only place I could think of that was safe was Grandma's house. Grandma's house, so we could do a couple of backyards to get there. Grandma was in bed already, but I knew she keeps a key under the mat on her front porch. Once we got inside, I looked at the window to see if those guys had followed us, and sure enough, they did. I tried to trick them into leaving, but they wouldn't budge. Well, I guess that we're safe in our own house. You can't get us. After a while, I realized the teenagers were going to wait us out. So we decided we were just gonna have to spend the night at Grammy's. That's when we started getting cocky, making monkey noises at the teenagers and whatnot. Well, at least I was making monkey noises. Roy was kind of making owl noises, but I guess it was the same general idea. Ooh, ooh, ee, ah! Ooh, ooh, ee, ah! Hoo, hoo. I called Mom to tell her we were going to crash at Grammy's for the night, but Mom sounded really mad on the phone. She said it was a school night and that we had to get home right this instant, so that meant we were going to have to make a run for it. I looked out the window, and this time I didn't see the truck, but I knew those guys were hiding somewhere and just tried to draw us out. So we stuck at the back door, hopped over Gabby's fence, and ran all the way to Snake Road. I figured our chances were better there because there aren't any street lights. Snake Road is scary enough on its own without having a truckload of teenagers hunting you down. Every time we saw a car coming, we dove into the bushes. It must have taken us half an hour to go 100 yards. But believe it or not, we made it all the way home without getting caught. Neither one of us let our guard down until we got to my driveway. But right then there was an awful scream, and we saw a big wave of water coming toward us. Splash! Man, I forgot all about Dad, and we totally paid the price for it. Now the candy's all soggy. When me and Rolly got inside, we laid out all our candy on the kitchen table. The only things we could salvage were a couple of mints that were wrapped in cellophane. And the toothbrushes Dr. Grayson gave us, yeah, I think next Halloween I'll just stay home and mooch some Butterfingers for the bowl from the bowl Mom keeps on the top of the refrigerator. November, Thursday. On the bus ride into school today, I passed by Grammy's house. It was rolled with toilet paper. Last night, which I guess no big surprise. I do feel a little bad because it looked like it was gonna take a long time to clean up, but on the bright side, Grammy is retired, so she probably didn't have any planned for today anyway. Wednesday, in third period, Mr. Underwood, our phys ed teacher, announces that the boys will be doing a wrestling unit for the next 6 weeks. If there's one thing that most boys in my school are into, it's professional wrestling, so Mr. Underwood might as well have set off a bomb. Lunch comes right after phys ed, and the cafeteria was a complete madhouse. I don't know what the school is thinking having a wrestling unit, but I decided I don't want to get twisted into a pretzel for the next month and a half. I'd better do my homework on this wrestling business. So I rented a couple of video games to learn some movies, and you know what? After a while, I really started to get the hang of it. Does this feel right? Yes? No? Help! In fact, the other kids in my class had better look outside, because if I keep this up, I could be a real threat. Then again, I better make sure I don't do too good. This kid named Preston Mudd got named Athlete of the Month for being the best player in the basketball unit, so they put his picture up in the hallway. P. Mudd, Athlete of the Month. It took people about 5 seconds to realize how P. Mudd sounded when you sound it out loud, and after that it was all over for Preston. P. Mudd, P. Mudd. Thursday. Well, I found out today that the kind of wrestling Mr. Underwood is completely different from the kind they do on TV. First of all, we need to wear these things called singlets, which look like those bathing suits they used to wear in the 1800s. And second of all, there are no pile drivers or hitting people over the head with chairs or anything like that. There's not even a ring with ropes, and it just basically a sweaty mat that smells like it's never been washed before. Mr. Underwood started asking for volunteers so he could demonstrate some wrestling holds, but there was no way I going to raise my hand. Me and Rolly tried to hide out this in the back of the gym near the curtain, but that's where the girls were doing gymnastics unit. We got out of there in a hurry, and we went back to where the rest of the guys were. Mr. Underwood singled me out, probably because I'm the lightest kid in the class, and I could toss me around with straining himself. He showed everybody how to do these things, called a half Nelson and a reversal and a takedown and stuff like that. And he was doing this one move called the fireman's carry. I felt a breach down below, and I could tell my singlet wasn't doing a good job keeping me up. That's when I thanked my lucky stars that the girls were on the other side of the gym. Mr. Underwood divided us into weight groups. I was pretty happy about that at first because it meant I wasn't going to have to wrestle kids like Benny Wells who can bench press 250 pounds. But then I found out who I did have to wrestle, and I would have traded for Benny Wells, Benny Wells, in a heartbeat. Greg, you'll be paired up with Fregley here. Fregley was the only kid light enough to be in my weight class, and apparently Fregley was playing.
Attention, paying attention. 어디 이거? 어떤 거?
Weight class, and apparently Fregley was paying attention when Mr. Underwood was giving instruction because he pinned me every which way you could imagine. I spent my 7th period getting way more familiar with Fregley than I ever wanted to be Tweet! Tuesday. This wrestling unit has totally turned our school upside down. No kids were wrestling in the halls, in the classroom, but you name it. But 15 minutes after lunch, where they let us outside, is the worst. You can't walk 5 feet without tripping over a couple of kids going at it. I just try to keep my distance and mark my words, but one of these fools is going to roll right in onto the cheese and start the cheese touch all over again. My other big problem is that I have to wrestle frequently every single day, but this morning I realized something. If I can move out of Freckly's weight class, I won't have to wrestle him anymore. So today I stuffed my clothes with a bunch of socks and shirts to get myself into the next weight class, but I was still too light to move up. I realized I was going to have to gain weight for real. At first I thought I should just start loading up junk food, but then I had a much better idea. Bye.